of Vitalis. He is a leading health and nutrition and personal development strategist who reconnects individuals with their intrinsic wild and sovereign nature and empowers them with ancient and modern strategies for vigorous living, encouraging us to rewild ourselves, in quotes. He teaches that invincible health is produced by a life aligned with our biological design. Let's give him a big round of applause.
All right, so I need an interactive audience. So let's try this. Are you guys having a good time? If you are, say yes now. Yes! Do you guys want to have an even better time? When I ask a question like that, if the answer is yes, I want you to just say, because it helps me so much to get the feedback. Hey, Austin is awesome. Good job. All right, so the name of my talk is ReWild Yourself. Wow, this thing is not helping me do that. Anybody ever feel like that? Ah! Do you ever feel like that? Thank you. Me too. Oh my gosh. All right. Here's the thing I want everyone to know. You are indigenous. We think about indigenous people like Native American people, right? Or like the Inuit of like the Arctic. But you are indigenous because indigenous just means that you originate in this place. You're an earthling. And that's like, oh yeah, I know I'm an earthling. Do you know you're an earthling? But do you really? Because we act like astronauts from another planet. Like we've come here and we don't know what this place is about, so we dress up in all our suits to go into nature like we're astronauts almost. We're not super comfortable with this place. And I want to remind you first and foremost, you're from this planet. We act like there's people from this planet and then there's us, the Westerners, who are like trying to figure out how we should live here, like we don't know. Something like that. But the thrust of my talk is going to be about domestication. Who knows the word domestication? You heard that before. Say, yeah. Domestication means of or belonging to the house. Of or belonging to the house. We talk about domestication with a lot of plants, and we talk about it with a lot of animals, right? In particular, we could use a really good example here. We could talk about dogs, man's best friend. You know the word man used to mean human. And you had she-men and he-men. Now man just means guys, right? But that's actually not the correct usage. So I mean it in the old way. Man's best friend really means human's best friend. So the idea of dogs being man's best friend does not mean dogs are guys' best friends. It means human beings as a species, our best friend is dogs. Does that make sense to everybody? Because we've been living with dogs for 100,000 years. 100,000 years we've lived with dogs. They're our best friend. Our species and their species are best friend. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, the scientific name of the dog is Canis lupus familiaris. Canis lupus familiaris. How many, if you know my work, don't answer this. Yeah, that's you. This is for the rest of you who don't know my work. How many species of dogs are there? Throw it out there. There's one species of dog. I used to think like there was like 500, but those are all races of dogs, breeds of dogs. There's 500 breeds of dogs, but they're all the same species. Even though they all look so different, they're all the same animal. They share a genome. Does that make sense, everybody? Same genome. That's different phenotypes of the same genome. That's two totally different morphologies, but it's the same organism. Everybody with me on that? That's going to be important. Now, they come from somewhere. Because you don't just kind of go out into nature. You never seen like a special on Africa, right? And there's like chihuahuas running across. Wild pack of chihuahuas. Right? They come from somewhere. They come from Canis lupus, which is what? The gray wolf. So that's actually where all dogs come from. All dogs are descended from gray wolves. All dogs are gray wolves. You guys with me? Your Chihuahua's a gray wolf, your Great Dane's a gray wolf. They're all gray wolves, but they're a domesticated form. So we call this animal Canis lupus, and we call the domesticated form Canis lupus familiaris. And the familiaris denotes that we're talking about the domesticated subspecies. You guys with me on that? That's going to be important. Hang on to that news. Now here's the thing. These guys live outside, wild environment. They're not domesticated. In other words, they're not of the house. That animal's not of the house. If you've never seen studies where they try to bring wolves indoors, you should take a look at that. It's very interesting. They can't live like that. They can't. They live outside in natural conditions. They hunt their own food. I know that's a little on the graphic side, but I think it's important. They don't eat kibble, right? They feed themselves in wild nature. And they have behaviors that we try to breed out of our dogs. Like that one, right? Let's hear it. Ready? We try to breed that out of our dogs. We try to change their behaviors. Now, if we take a gray wolf, this is a little kid's simplification of how this process works. If we take a gray wolf and we remove it from its natural habitat, we take away its natural environment. He's kind of like, whoa, what's happening? And we change his food, right? We change what they eat, and we change how they breed, and we select partners that will yield results that we like. Over time, we can start to change them into something that we more recognize as our domesticated dogs. You guys understand that? Stick with me here. Eventually, you end up with dogs that can no longer even eat their natural diet. They can't go back to the wild. They're so bred, they can't go back. Does that make sense? So we've ended up with all these dogs. They're actually gray wolves, but they are unable to go. That dog can't go run with the wolves anymore. It's too changed. And we can't backward breed it back into a wolf. Interesting. So these dogs are of the house, domesticated. You guys are tracking now, right? You kind of understand where I'm taking this? So eventually what happens is that animal, look at the ferocity in the eyes of that creature. That's a wild creature who takes care of itself. Now, they're a pack animal. They're not loners, but they can take care of themselves. You breed them long enough, that animal, over time, becomes that animal, right? Look at the fear in the eyes. You see there's a difference there, right? Take care of me. Help me. So, all right, you guys see that? Now, if you know my work, do not answer, but yeah, sit down, Arthur. What plant is that? Everybody you know, probably here it's a little different. Outside of this building, everybody ate it today. Everybody ate it today. Anyone know what that plant is? If you know, shout it out. That is maize. That is the wild progenitor, teosinte. Or teosintele, they sometimes call it. That's wild corn. Now you breed it long enough and you change it and you mutate it over time through the process of domestication, and you can start to yield all these different varieties of corn. Was the wild plant, and it turns into something like this, and over time into this, and over time into, oh, that one. That one, right? Our Monsanto GMO corn. Over time. And then eventually, we end up doing this. Now, this we tend to think of as a monocrop, but when you hear monocrop now, I want you to think about cities. That's a city of corn. So Austin's a city of people, right? It's a monocrop of people. Like really the only organisms besides domesticated cats and dogs that are really allowed to live there are people. So that's kind of like a city for corn. Does that make sense to everybody? Any other organism that tries to live there is kind of booted out or poisoned out or whatever. It's a corn city. Now we take that stuff and we turn it into stuff like that. Or we turn it into stuff like that. Who grew up on that? If you did, say yes. I did. I ate a lot of that daily and I drank the milk. Now, when you see things like that, I know you guys are probably not eating that, but you know people who are. When you see that, I want you to think for people, that is for people, what? That is for domesticated dogs. Does that make sense? That's people dog food, right? That's food for domesticated humans. Are you guys tracking? If you're tracking, say yes. Thank you. So we kind of grew up with this phylogeny. I grew up with this phylogeny. I grew up learning that we sort of moved our way from like Australopithecines up to Homo erectus, and eventually we became hunter-gatherer people, the Cro-Magnons, right? And they became anatomically modern humans. Now that's sort of true, but I want to add something to it because we always cut it off there. Domestication is a degenerative process. This is important to understand. We talk about it in anthropology and science and biology. They talk about it like as if all this domestication's been so good. Oh, we elevated ourselves up out of nature. It's so wonderful. We talk about it like it's been a really good thing. Turns out it might not have been the best thing for us. It's a degenerative process, which is why we always hear about degenerative diseases. Do you ever think about what degenerative means? It means the opposite of evolution, right? Evolution's like getting better, getting more fit for your environment. Degeneration is the process of breaking down. That we have degenerative diseases means we're not really adapting, we're maladaptive. We're mad, we're maladaptive degenerates. Ah! Okay, 20 minutes, I gotta go. Whoa! Whoa! Help me! Where's my team? Where's my team? Ah! Okay, so this is a really interesting quote. I know it's a little small. I'm going to read it for you. This is Greg Hodgins. He's a researcher at the University of Arizona's Accelerator Mass Spectrometry Laboratory. He's saying this about dogs. He studies dog evolution or dog breeding, right? Dog domestication. He says, essentially, wolves have long, thin snouts, and their teeth are not crowded, and domestication results in a shortening of the snout and a widening of the jaws and a crowding of the teeth. Does that sound familiar? Domestication leads to a crowding of dog teeth. That's pretty important because we know that indigenous people have big, wide dental arches, right? But then what do we see in our own teeth? We see the domestication process has taken hold. We try to hide it. That's why we use that, right? That's to mask the fact that we're degenerating in our domestication, right? So we try to hide it. So what's up with Homo sapiens? We talk about ourselves as Homo sapiens, as if we are the same people as the hunter-gatherer peoples. But facts are we're kind of a little bit different. I call us Homo sapiens domestico-fragilis. Homo sapiens domestico-fragilis. Because we are the fragile and domesticated version of the hunter-gatherer peoples, the Homo sapiens. That makes sense? If it makes sense, I want to hear it. If you think it doesn't make sense, speak up, stand up. We live a life of sedentism. This is not found in our hunter-gatherer ancestors. They're semi-nomadic peoples. They move around. We don't. We plant things, we garden, we stay put. Bah! Sedentism isn't just sitting in chairs, it's sitting in a town. We live completely outside of natural weather. We've totally isolated ourselves from our natural environment. We have climate control. It's kind of cold in here. Everybody's complaining it's a little cold in here. Ugh. Think about that wolf out in the snow, right? Minus 40. We're overfed, but we're undernourished. So we're managing to get fat while we starve to death. Whoa, that's a really interesting process. How do we even pull that off? And we breed in captivity. He just said that. And we suffer from a really blunted awareness, which is why we haven't been able to figure this out yet. Because we don't even know how to think properly. So that's the reconstructed phylogeny. We went up to the hunter-gatherer level, but we became Homo sapiens domestico-fragilis. You guys with it? Yeah. All right, we got to change that. This is my opinion of where we're headed. If we stay on this trajectory, take a look at this guy. He has a bigger brain than you because he has to, your brain's set up to only be able to manage 150 friends in your social network. That's how your brain works. But I think on my social network, I think I can have 5,000. I'm going to need a bigger brain. And at the end of the day of computer work, my eyes hurt. I need built-in sunglasses. And if I'm going to eat all that processed corn, I don't even really need much of a digestive tract anymore, just a little slit mouth for my processed food slop. I need long, stringy fingers for keyboarding on touchscreens. I need a reduced melanin pigment because I never get any sunlight. You with me? Let's stay on this path and see where we're heading. We talk about that like, oh, extraterrestrials, but I think they're terrestrials. That's us, the future of us, if we don't start rewilding ourselves now. By the way, we already did that same thing to dogs. You guys saw it? It's a gray alien of dogs. Sorry if you're a Chihuahua owner. Any Chihuahua owners? We live in artifact land. So here's the thing. The word artifact means anything that bears the mark of human will upon it. The difference between a stone and an arrowhead struck from that stone, one is the natural or wild stone, the other thing bears human will upon it. You see what I'm saying? We live in a land of artifacts. There's nothing natural here. Oh my God. This whole place is artifacts. It's like Candyland. We're like in a kind of Candyland for adults. So we got to rewild ourselves. I got to rip through this and become Homo sapiens neo-aboriginalis, the new aboriginal. That's what all this stuff is about. It's about becoming the new aboriginal. So we can't go back. The experiments have been done to try to backbreed organisms to their wild type. You can't. But we can push through and become the new wild type by incorporating all these lifestyle practices. One thing we got to start doing is exposing ourselves to the elements more, getting exposed to different temperatures. That's a t-shirt I got back there, a guy being exposed to the elements, right? It's ecstatic to get exposed to the elements. We got to stop playing the climate control game so much. Loosen it up a little bit. We keep all of our lives at a cool 70. It's just always 70. Go outside, sleep outside for a night. What's temperature do? Fluctuates in a sine wave rhythm. What do? Flatline. I really like saunas, by the way, because you get to heat your body way up, and I really love cold showers after to cool my body way off, because I don't live outside, but at least I can stimulate my body to experience those metabolic changes that have to happen to balance those temperatures. That make sense? Yes? There's a new science called nutrigenomics. They know now that the food we eat is actually affecting our gene expression. It's more than just vitamins and minerals and protein and carbohydrates and lipids. We actually need stuff to stimulate our genes. We're supposed to be eating wild food, and we eat domesticated food. So the best thing we can do right now, if you're not out foraging food, and some of us are actually, is eating a wide variety of whole, fresh, local foods. You guys know that. But I want you to think of it like this. Hunt, gather, garden, herb, and until then, go to the farmer's market. That make sense? You want to be getting a wide variety of heirloom plants with a wide variety of plant genetics. Practice feast and famine. We can't do this flatline thing. Do humans in nature get to eat the same amount of food every day at every meal? No, but we do. We want fluctuations. Sometimes you fast, sometimes you feast. Does that make sense? Your body's designed to experience that. We haven't been experiencing that. Get started with herbalism. Hey, Paleo, you guys need to learn about herbalism. It's driving me crazy. Our ancestors used herbalism, and herbs are wild plants. So when you're doing herbalism, you're getting exposed to wild plants, you're getting exposed to their genetics, and that affects your gene expression. Fresh organic spices do the same thing. You notice that spice plants, like if you grow, like say, oregano, you plant it in your garden, you don't ever have to do anything again. It can live out there like it's wild. It's not like your lettuces, which need to be fluffed up all the time. It's like a wild plant. We want to be drinking fresh, clean water. I got a website called findaspring.com. That's all I'm going to say. Check it out. We gather all our water. Wild water, baby. Geophagy. Do you guys know that all natural humans studied everywhere in the world eat clay? Eat clay, right? Because it detoxifies your body. And now, more important than ever, that's my godson. Whenever he comes over to my house, he eats the soil out of my plants. Still in him. His name is Wilder, by the way. All right, here's another one. I want you to get your feet in the game. Check this out. Can you guys see that? This is a dumbbell exercise guide. Evidently, there's no muscles in the feet. Right? It's just like, oh yeah, it's just nothing down there. You don't have to worry about that. So this whole barefooting revolution, hey, that's your route to the earth. I mean, we already heard in the last talk about barefooting. That's really important stuff. But getting the musculature of your feet developed is crucial. The whole talk is about transcending domestication. We can't reverse it, but we can transcend it. We can move past it. You can find me at danielvitalis.com. That's my website. You can find all my other stuff there, like my Find a Spring project. If you ever want to find a fresh spring where you can gather your own water, you can find it at findaspring.com. It's a database of springs all over the world. This is my product line. I'm over there. I want to talk to you guys, so I'm going to be there. Please, after here, come check it out. Come check out the products. Come talk about this, whatever you want to talk about. I'm there for you. And that's it. Thank you very much.
We got a couple minutes for questions. Anybody got any questions?
20 minutes.
Questions?
What resources do you recommend for learning about herbalism?
Wow. You know what? That's a good question. There's a lot of research. It's going to be easy for you to find them. I'd recommend you actually start playing with herbs, though. This is the thing, is people get into herbalism and they sort of get into a lot of products and they don't actually play with the herbs. So I'm not going to recommend resources to you right now, but I will recommend that you actually start making infusions like teas with actual wild plants, whether you purchase them in bulk or whether you actually go out and harvest them. But more important would be if you could get on an herb walk in the area where you live. So let's say you live in Austin, and you can find an herbalist who leads walks, and you can actually learn to identify the plant, harvest it, gather it, because there's all psychological process that's unfolding when you make connection with that plant. It becomes like an ally and a friend, and its effects become much. I'm so into placebo. It's like if I can get some extra placebo in on something, I want it. So if you can get interaction with real plants, that's what's crucial. More so than like reading books about it and then buying products. Does that make sense? I want you to actually interact with real plants. And so I would recommend you actually go on a wild food walk or a wild medicine walk.
Great. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, okay.
Tell us about those sweet boots.
He wants to know about your sweet boots.
Say it one more time.
Your sweet boots.
Oh, my sweet boots? Yeah, Aya, AYYA.com. That's the brand. Yeah, they're tabbies, man. I usually wear the 5 fingers, but when I got on stage, I got to do the ninja thing.
Got time for one more question? I'm out.
Hey, you guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.